The Maxwell equation part 3. Well, so in my last lecture, we have seen that the function which satisfies the solutions for the wave equation are a special type of functions, and they possess a particular property that can only be supported by the exponential functions only. So this was our wave equations, and since there is a del operator, the del square operator actually operates over the scalar, but here exists a vector. So therefore this del square operator operates the each component of this vector electric field, and that is why I have considered that this electric field having these individual components. So therefore this operator is operating over a particular component. So as a result, so there will be three different equations for three different component x, y, and z for the electric field. And similarly, if you construct such an wave equation using the magnetic field, then such three set of equations also will be applicable for the magnetic field also. Next one is that already I have derived and I have discussed a lot regarding this factor, that the electric field which is continuous in space must possess such kind of properties, that the argument of this electric field must be the product of the individual argument of the similar functions. So this xi is a x dependent variable or x dependent functions, yi is a y dependent functions, and zi is a z dependent functions only. And I stands for only one component, as I told. So therefore for each component of electric field there will be a different set of such equations. And next, by plugging this expression in this equations, I got this, and after that I have divided the entire equations by this xi times zi times yi, and finally I have obtained these equations, where this part depends only on the x coordinate, this part depends only on the y coordinate, and this one is only on the z coordinate system. So therefore, I told that each of these part can be equated with individual constant, and that constant is gamma square, gamma x square, gamma y square, and gamma z square respectively, which are related with their respective components, like this, not components exactly, with their respective functions. So this is the x dependent functions, this is the y dependent functions is equating with the gamma y square, and this is the z dependent functions. And finally, I have obtained, by clubbing all those terms, the final equations of the electric field I have obtained in this form, where this this factor represents the vector which represents the attenuation coefficient. Why it is attenuation coefficients? Because look at here, this is a phase constant where a j term is associated with it. This j term represents its sinusoidal variations. So either we can decompose it into cos beta r minus j sine beta r. So that represents sinusoidal oscillations. But there is no j or the imaginary term associated with this factor. So this factor represents pure e to the power or real term, which represents a decay, since minus attenuation times the space coordinate exists. So this factor represents the decay of the magnitude of the initial magnitude of the electric field. So if initial magnitude of the electric field is E naught, so that E naught gets decayed by this factor. And finally, since this is a vector, the of this magnitude of this vector attenuation constant was represented by this expression, and the magnitude of this phase constant was represented by this expression. Now, but the analysis was not completed in my last lecture, so I will continue from here. So the content of this lecture is the only one. What was the content for the previous one? I am just continuing in this lecture. The solutions of the electromagnetic wave equations what I have obtained in my last lecture, that was associated with the isotropic lossy source free homogeneous medium, that means sigma. The conductivity has been considered not equals to considered 0, but here the conductivity I am considering 0. So that will result a lossless medium. So isotropic means we are assuming the permittivity, the permeability, all are uniformly distributed over the all directions or all dimensions. Lossless means sigma is equals to 0, source speed, no charge exists. Homogeneous means the wave equations what we have obtained that will remain same for in this case also, except this factor that sigma is equals to 0. If you replace sigma equals to 0 in this expression of the attenuation constant, obviously you should get a 0 attenuation constant. But the phase constant will not be 0. So the phase constant can be decomposed or can be written in such a form that mu and epsilon is equals to mu naught mu r, and epsilon is equals to epsilon naught epsilon r. So we can write in this way, where mu naught and epsilon naught represents the permeability and the permittivity of the free space respectively, where the mu r and epsilon r represent the permeability and the permittivity of the medium respectively. So next we can consider that root over mu naught times the mu r is this represents the 1 by velocity, the inverse velocity of the electromagnetic wave in free space. So that is why root over mu naught times epsilon naught I have considered 1 by c naught, which represents the free space velocity of the electromagnetic wave, and root over mu r epsilon r is nothing but equals to the refractive index of the medium. In general, our medium, a large category of the medium fall in the range of having mu r equals to 1, that represent the non-magnetic material. So that is why the material we are going to analyze for this particular course will consider that mu r is equals to 1. But however, so this is the actual expression for the refractive index. Omega by C naught, this can finally be written as K naught. K naught represents the wave number in free space. Wave number, it will be clear in this lecture also what is the significance of the wave number. Wave number basically signifies the directions of the wave propagation. So in free space, that is nothing but 2 pi by lambda or lambda naught, which represents the wavelength in free space. Now, beta is a phase constant, which is a vector. Already I have discussed a lot of about these things. So this magnitude of this vector is equals to k naught times the refractive index. But when I'm considering the component of the magnitude of the vector, so the magnitude of the component comes in this order, and that will be equals to this one. In place of the beta, sometimes people do use these notations, that is k. So this k and beta, they represent the same thing, having their components as kx, ky and kz. So therefore, in place of this beta, I'm going to use these k notations. However, you can keep it beta over here. Another thing you should notice that since sigma is equals to 0 is considered for this lossless medium, this attenuation constant, this vector goes to 0, representing or leaving only this part. So this is only the propagating part. Here I have replaced the k by beta so that you may be familiar with the notations with your book, but however beta is easily equally applicable. And this is the total electric field. Now remember from my couple of slides or couple of lectures earlier that the electric field what I have considered was a space dependent and time dependent function. So this is the vector as well as it was a space dependent and time dependent functions, and from the time dependent functions I have taken out this time dependent part as a product of this e to the power j omega t. So and this es was representing at that time the space dependent part. So such kind of representation I told that it is a time harmonic representation. Right now, if I club, since I have obtained the expressions or the function which can be served as a solution for this space dependent electric field, and if I want to club the time factor also, so no need to worry, just multiply e to the power j omega t, and that will result in the entire function. So this is the actual both space dependent and time dependent functions. The space dependency is contained within this factor and the time dependency is contained within this factor. See, omega represents the temporal frequency, temporal angular frequency, temporal means in time domain, and k represents spatial angular frequency, spatial means in space domain. We will see later the significance of this k and what is the relation between this k and omega and this factor. We will see later. As I was telling, so this is the, this factor represents the propagating wave. Why? Because since the e to the power j factor exists, so this represents a cosine or sine factor. If I take the real part of this, so that will represent as a cos omega t minus k dot r, and if I take imaginary part of it, so that will represent j times sine of that. So in either way, that this e to the power part is going to represent an oscillation both in space and time, so that represents a propagating wave. Let's see how this factor is going to represent a propagating wave. Now, from here, I'm going to just drop this magnitude term, because dropping means it is that doesn't mean that it is not there. It is here, but I'm just going to consider only this part because I have lots of things to discuss about this magnitude term. Later in my lecture, I will discuss all of many things regarding this magnitude term. But for the time being, I'm considering this real part of this electric field is proportional to this factor, which is a cosine, which is varying both with respect to time and space. And finally, if I consider that this electric field is propagating or the varying, rather the suitable term I should use right now, it is varying along the z direction. So that k dot r would be replaced by kz times the z. So kz represents the wave number and z is the direction along which it is propagating. Now, if I consider this omega t minus kz times z is equals to phi, so phi is going to represent that. Now, we will see the next slide what this signifies. Here is a simple animation representing the propagation of an electromagnetic wave along a particular direction. Basically, here the propagation is taking place along all the three directions, but for the time being, I am considering that this direction is, I am assuming there is a time axis, while this direction I'm assuming this is a space axis, or specifically it is a z axis. You may consider it is either x or y, whatever it is, I'm considering it is a z axis. So the waves are propagating along the z direction. So what the propagation means? You can see from here the propagation means the propagation of these planes, the planes marked by these white stripes. So what is the meaning of that? So these planes, the planes of white stripes, represent the planes of constant phase. You may consider that one plane, the white striped plane, one plane is representing the positive peak amplitude of your wave. If one plane represents the positive peak amplitude of the wave, then the next plane will also represent the next positive peak amplitude of the wave, and the previous plane just immediate before the reference one what you have considered, that also will represent another positive peak amplitude of the wave. So therefore the difference between two such planes are nothing but 2 pi distance apart. So they are 2 pi distance apart in the space domain, and they are 2 pi distance apart in the time domain. So therefore the difference between two such planes in time domain are nothing but the period which is being represented by the capital T, and the difference between the space domain are represented by the period in space domain, that is the wavelength. Now look at the propagation of these planes. So far away from the source region, each plane is connected with a similar plane on the time axis. That means each plane on the space axis or the z axis is connected with a similar plane on the time axis. That means each plane, while it is propagating lambda distance from in the z axis, it is always taking t time on the time axis. So basically the planes which are propagating its own wavelength along the z-axis, it is taking its own time period in the time axis. So that defines the velocity, and that relates both the time axis with the z-axis. So the velocity is nothing but the wavelength divided by the time period. Now, as you can see from here, the propagation means the propagation of the planes of constant phases are propagating. So that can be understood using this simple example. So this is the phase what I have obtained from my last couple of lectures. So consider that you are starting the observation at t is equal to 0 and z is equal to 0. That means at the initial time and initial position. So if you put t is equal to 0 and z equals to 0, the phase at the initial time and initial position is obviously 0. Now suppose you consider that you are on a plane of constant phase. Now the plane is propagating, and you are trying to measure the phase after traveling one wavelength from the initial position. That means from the 0 position when z equals to 0. Now suppose you have traveled one wavelength from this z equals to 0. Right now the present position is obviously z equals to the lambda. So the time it will take, that means this phase will take to reach this z equals to lambda position is nothing but this capital T, because the velocity is constant and the relation is defined by this equation. So when you will reach the or when this phase will reach the z equals to lambda position, so it will take the time t equals to capital T. Therefore, if you put t equals to capital T and z equals to lambda over here, you will get phi equals to 0 again, which signifies that at t equals to 0 and z equals to 0, the initial position or initial phase plane was phi equals to 0. And when you will examine at t equals to lambda and t equals to t and z equals to lambda, that means 2 pi radian in time domain and 2 pi radian in space domain, you will see the phase is a similar phase. So you can examine examine this phenomena by putting any value of t and any value of z. But when you will examine the next plane, you have to traverse the 2 pi radian both in space and time domain. So you will arrive at the same phase. So that means this example signifies that basically the propagation of the wave means the forwarding of this phase both along the time axis and space axis. Now, if v is defined as lambda by t, or wavelength divided by the time period, so 1 by time period is nothing but the frequency, so it will be the frequency times the wavelength, and it is the well-known equation that velocity is equals to frequency times the wavelength. Next, if you multiply the 2 pi both with the numerator and denominator, so you can write the velocity is equals to omega by kz. What is omega? Omega is nothing but the angular frequency which is related with the time, and kz is equivalently will represent the angular frequency associated with the space. So this signifies that when a wave is propagating along the z direction, so number of cycles per second is represented by this omega, or more specifically number of cycles per radian is represented, or cycles per radian is represented by this omega, angular frequency. Similarly, this kz, which is nothing but 2 pi divided by lambda, that will represent the number of cycle within the z direction. Within the z direction, since kz I have considered over here, so it is going to represent the number of cycle within the z direction. Similarly, if you consider the x direction, the wave is propagating along the x direction, so there will appear the kx should appear, and that will represent the number of cycle along the x direction. Similarly, ky will represent the number of cycle along the y direction. Therefore, kz represents the spatial frequency, while omega represents the temporal frequency. Temporal means related with the time, spatial means related with the space. In another case, the significance of the kz is that it also represents the propagation of the wave, or rather it is the direction of the propagation of the wave. Since it represents kz, That means the wave is propagating along the z direction. Therefore, kz represents the propagation or the direction of the wave in this particular case. Similarly, if you include all the component of kz, suppose the wave is propagating in a three-dimensional space, so that should include all the component of the k or the k vector. So both the kz, all the kz, k, kx, and ky should appear in the expression of the vector k vector. So then the direction of the wave will be represented by some resulting vector along the direction of the k, and the resulting vector is nothing but the k vector itself, which is including all the kx x cap, ky y cap, and kz z cap. So all those terms includes the direction of the wave, as the direction of the wave in this case is represented by this kz. Now, the propagation of the wave can be easily understood using this simulation. So here you can see the waves which are propagating along the z directions are being represented by some planes. So these planes can be represented or actually represents the planes of constant phase. So you can imagine, so this red represents the peak, positive peak, while it is decreasing to zero. Suppose from starting from here, this positive peak decreasing to zero, attaining its negative peak, again increasing to zero and attaining its positive peak. So from one red to another red plane is going to represent one wavelength. So therefore, and propagation of the wave is nothing but the propagation of the planes of constant phase. So that is why such kind of waves are called the plane waves. And look, this represents the kz because the number of cycle or the wavelength you can measure along the z direction, because it is propagating along the z direction. So kz represents the number of cycles per unit length, or per radian rather, per radian, because 1 by wavelength, 1 by lambda is per unit length, but 2 pi by lambda, which is being represented by this kz, that represents the number of cycles per radian, so that along the z directions. Okay, so that is why kz represents the directions of the wave in the z direction. Now we are in a good position to define the phase velocity and the group velocity. What is a phase velocity? So phase velocity means the velocity by which the phase gets propagated. So this is the phase, and the phase is basically remains constant on a particular plane, and we have seen the propagation of the wave means the propagation of those plane. So planes of constant phase. So this is the phase which is constant on a particular plane, and the propagation or the velocity of this phase is represented actually represent the phase velocity. So what is that? So if I differentiate it with respect to time, so an angle when gets differentiated with respect to the time, that always results in the angular frequency if it has. So here we have the angular frequency omega. So therefore the angle, the differentiation of the angle or the phase with respect to time will result in this omega. Similarly, the differentiation of the angle with the directions of the dimensions in space will result in the angular frequency in space, or we can say the spatial angular frequency. This is the temporal angular frequency, this is the spatial angular frequency. So the phase velocity is nothing but this one, dz dt. So the propagation of the phase, so dz dt means that if I divide these two things in this way, so that will result in the phase velocity, which is omega by kz. So this represents the phase velocity. The negative sign coming here is from here, and that is purely representing the directions to which it is propagating. In this case, omega t minus kz, as we have seen that this for z propagating in a positive directions is represented by this minus kz. So therefore this minus, which is being derived from this equation, is also representing the wave or the phases are propagating in a positive directions in the z, or positive kz directions we can say. And this is the well known diagram of the prism from our school level. We know what is going on over here. So in the free space, the light is coming from the free space and it incidents on one plane of the prism. So when the light is coming from the free space it is a white light. White light means it is the mixture of all the wavelengths. But in free space, since it has the refractive index which is equals to unity, so all of those velocities or all of those phases, so each and individual wavelengths will be called the individual phase. So all of those phase or individual wavelengths or individual phase are propagating by a constant and similar speed. They are maintaining similar speed. But once they entered within this medium, that medium has a refractive index other different than the free space, and we know the wavelength gets divided by the refractive index. So the individual wavelength gets divided by this refractive index of this medium, and as a result, the speed or the velocity gets changed for each and every wavelength. Or we can say in terms of the phase velocity that here when they were in the free space, they were maintaining the same phase velocity, but within the prism the phase velocity gets different. As a result, individual wavelength gets splitted out and we can see this VGO. Along with this one, there is another velocity, that is the group velocity. Means here we are considering the individual phase or individual wavelength, waves with individual wavelength. But if you see in general, you will see next in my slide that a wave generally contains many wavelengths. So when they contains the many wavelengths, they form an envelope. So the velocity or the speed of that envelope is called the group velocity, and that is represented by this d omega dkz. So this represents the group velocity. Now let's understand what is the phase velocity and what is the group velocity from my next slide. Now before going to demonstrate this slide, you just look over here. So this red one represents an individual wave and this blue one represents another individual wave. And here this represents the summation of this both of them. So this fx which is being displayed over here is going to represent the summation of the previous two. Anyway, let's play this animation. Yeah, look. So this wavelength, this red wavelength is propagating in a different speed than this blue wavelength, and this is one phase. This blue dot represents one phase, this red dot represents another phase on this wavelength. But here the summations of both of them, they represents an envelope, and this is the propagation of the envelope. Whereas look how this envelope is propagating. Just immediately you will see, look, this green dot represents the phase velocity within the phase, and this magenta dot represents the speed of the envelope. So this is the group velocity. This is the group velocity. Here's the velocity in a group where this encloses these two velocity or two wavelengths. So look at there. This green dot which is representing the phase velocity which is much less than the group velocity, but there may be some situations where we can find that the phase velocity is larger than the group velocity. But in that case, for a long medium where the phase velocity is generally larger than the group velocity and if the medium is dispersive, so group velocity dispersion can take place and that may cause different problem. So that is not in this in the discussion of this part of the lecture. Anyway, so I hope you have understood what is the phase velocity and what is the group velocity. Next, the most important thing is the polarization, the wave polarization, where this magnitude part I have to include. And from right now I am going to speak lots of things regarding this magnitude part only, because in all my previous lectures you have seen that what does this vector represent. So this represents the propagations, but what this vector is representing right now, this is a vector from the analysis of finding the solution for this electric field. We have seen that this represents a constant over a space. Over a space means the space here I am finding the solution over the isotropic lossless source free homogeneous medium, and this medium is basically infinitely extended. There is no boundary. I didn't say in my calculations, in my derivations, I didn't consider any kind of boundary exists which is limiting the expansions of this medium. So that means basically this medium is extended up to infinity. For such a medium, this is the solutions of the electric field, and this E naught, which is a vector, is also a constant, and it represents the magnitude part of this electric field. But this part also represents the polarizations of the wave. Polarization means the orientation of the electric field. That means in one direction the wave is propagating, and but in other directions the electric field is oscillating. Let's see what it is. First of all, this E naught, this is a vector and it also has three components. So it may have the y component. If it has only y component, we can say the polarization is along the y direction only. That means the electric field is oscillating along y direction and the wave is propagating along z direction, like this. We'll see in the next example. Next one, if it is not, the case is that the electric field is oscillating along the x direction only and it is propagating along the z direction, so we'll call it is x polarized wave. So it is polarized along the x direction. Similarly, it is applicable for the z direction also. So, but in this case, it is the longitudinal direction. Look, because these y and x, these two directions are the transverse to the direction of the propagation. Propagation is taking place along the z direction, while y and x are perpendicular to the z direction. So that is, these are the transverse direction to the direction of the propagation. But this component exists along the direction of the propagations, and this is called the longitudinal direction. And this is the more general one. So if the wave component exists in all over the dimensions, so both x, y, and z, so this we must include. Let's see which component should exist and which is not. Let's see. Now, an important question that may arise, that in our example, the electromagnetic wave is propagating along the z direction, and the electric field, which is appearing as a magnitude part of this electromagnetic wave, that includes all the components along all the directions. So it may has a direction along the x direction, or along the y direction, or along the z direction, or any combination of them. So the question is that what is the actual preferred direction of the electric field to oscillate? To answer that question, we need to consider this equation. This equation is resulting directly from the Gauss law, which states that the divergence of D is equals to the volume charge density. Since I have considered that our medium is source free, the volume charge density goes to 0. Further, D is equals to epsilon times C, where epsilon represents the permittivity of the medium. But the medium is isotropic, therefore the permittivity is uniform in all over the dimensions. Therefore, the space derivative has nothing to do with the permittivity. So therefore, I can take the permittivity out from the space derivative because it is a constant. And if I divide this equation by this permittivity, this final equation will be resulted. Now, I have replaced the expression of the electric field what I have obtained throughout my last couple of lectures over here. Now I am going to apply the product rule of the divergence. The product rule of the divergence is nothing but the product rule of the differentiation what you have learned in your school grade or school level standard. So that one is this one. First, you have to apply this divergence over this vector. So when you are applying the divergence over the vector, that will remain the vector, keeping the scalar part untouched. And next, you have to apply the divergence over the scalar, and when you are applying the scalar, that becomes a gradient of that. And this is a scalar obviously because this k dot r, since the dot product exists before being applied this operator, so that automatically becomes a scalar. And the resulting equation will be, before going to the resulting equation, so I must consider that this one is a constant and therefore the divergence of this one will be 0. And this one is obviously a constant because the medium what I have considered, that is extended up to infinity, because I did not consider any boundary for deriving such equation. So that is why the medium is extended up to infinity. So for an infinitely extended medium, this E naught I have obtained as the summation of or the component as the vector includes the component as ax, x cap, ay, y cap, and az, z cap, where ax, ay, and az, if you remember, I have obtained those constant from the solution of this second order space derivative associated with the individual functions of x, y, and z. So therefore, E naught is nothing but a constant for infinitely extended medium. So that is obviously 0, leaving only this part with us. Now if I apply the gradient operator over here, so that gradient operator will only extract this minus j times k out from this expression. And since there exists a dot product, the resulting equation will be this one. What is the significance of this one? The significance is very easy. Since there is a dot product and kz is a vector, includes kx, ky, and kz, and E naught is also a vector, includes E naught x, E naught y, and E naught z. So the dot product will result the expression having only the kz component and the E naught z component. And the product of kz times kz and E naught z is equals to 0. So that means if you have a propagation along the z direction, which I have in my example, we must not have the oscillation of the electric field along the z direction, because the kz times E naught z is equal to 0 due to the dot product. And the dot product signifies that magnitude of the k times the magnitude of the electric field times the cos theta. That means the theta may represents the angle between them, angle between this vector and this vector. So since this is equals to 0, that signifies that theta is equals to 90 degrees. So angle between these two is 90 degrees, which signifies that the electric field or the polarization vector must be perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. So if I have a propagating wave along the xz direction, I must not have the polarization along the z direction. It must have the direction polarization direction either along the x or along the y or along a combination of them. We will see next. Let's see, as I have considered in my last couple of slides earlier, that EY is the polarization. If suppose EY is the polarization, so we will call it the EY polarized wave. So it is okay because the wave is propagating along the z direction and the y is transverse to the direction of the propagation. It is okay. Similarly, this is also good because EX is directing along the x direction and wave is propagating along the z direction. But here, this is directing along the same directions along which the wave is propagating. That means these equations cannot take place, or this equation is a wrong equation, and this will not be a solution for that. So therefore polarization can take place either any one of them or both of them. Let's see. The more general one will be this one, either Ex or Ey or summation of them. So depending upon the along the direction the electric field is directing, the polarization can take place in three ways. That is, the first one is the linear polarization, circular polarizations, and the elliptical polarization. Let's see what are they. First is the linear polarization. So in linear polarization, so this is the general form what I have obtained. So if it is a general form, then the magnitude part obviously will be root over of d square plus d square, and the angle between them is nothing but the inverse of tan inverse of Ey to Ex. And so this can be used for all type of polarizations. Let's see. As a first case, I'm considering that along the x direction and along the y direction, the magnitudes are same. That means the electric field is oscillating both along the x direction and the y direction, having similar in amplitude. Therefore, the resulting amplitude will be this root 2 times E naught, and the angle actually that is the resulting angle, since both the electric field is oscillating individually along the x direction and the y direction, but as a whole the resulting direction will be the 45-degree angle. So that is the resulting direction along which the electric field will oscillate. And if it is oscillating along the 45-degree angle, so then also it will have some y component and some x component, isn't it? So that is why the resulting direction is the 45-degree. Take an example for either x or either y direction the electric field is oscillating. So in this case, the linear polarization I am considering, the Ex is 0, that means it is oscillating along the y direction only. Obviously the magnitude will be E not y, so it is because it is oscillating along the y direction. There is no any other component along the x. And obviously since Ex is 0, so that is going to be 90-degree, infinite. Sorry, this part is going to be infinite, so that will result in a 90-degree angle. Similarly, if Ey is 0 and Ex not, then this will result, and this angle will be 0-degree because this angle is defined with respect to x. So with respect to x, the angle is 0-degree. When it has only x component, it is oscillating along the x direction, having the 0-degree, maintaining a 0-degree angle with that. And if it has a y direction, if the polarization is directed along the y, that means when the electric field is oscillating along the y direction, it maintains the angle 90-degree with respect to x. That is why. The polarization of the wave can easily be understood using these simulations. Here, the first simulation represents, or the first animation represents the propagation of the wave along the z direction. So this is the z direction, and kz represents the wave number along the z directions, representing the waves, or means the phase of planes of constant phases are propagating along the z directions, which represents the propagation of the wave. Actually, x is vertically directed and y is directed into the page. Now, in this case, the propagation of the wave can be visualized, but along which directions the electric field or the polarization of the wave do exist, that cannot be visualized. For that, I have presented this such kind of diagram or this animation, where we can see this is the z direction. So look, the colors are moving along the z directions, so it represents that they are propagating, the waves are propagating. But these arrows are oscillating either along the positive y directions or the negative y directions, while x is towards you, x direction is towards you, so it is oscillating in a y direction while it is propagating along the z directions. Okay, so that means it has such kind of polarization. It is an y directed wave and which is propagating along the z direction. And this is a better representation, better animation, which using which you can visualize the oscillations of the wave. So this is the y directions along which it is oscillate, the electric field is oscillating, and this is the direction of the propagation along which it is propagating. So this is the kz direction, which represents the propagation of the wave, and these ups and downs, these waves are oscillating along the y direction. So this is the oscillations or the polarization of the wave. So in this case, this wave will be represented by this equation, which tells that it has the polarizations along the y direction while it is propagating along the z direction. Similar to that, an wave polarized along the x direction while propagating along the z direction can be represented by these equations, and the wave can be visualized as I have represented using this animation. So it is oscillating along the x direction while it is propagating along the z direction. So it is an x polarized wave. However, these two animations represent both the x polarized wave and the y polarized wave. But here the animation represent the wave front. Basically, this is one plane, and the output plane what you are observing at this plane, at each and every time you are just observing the planes of constant phase. So the phases are coming and you are observing them. So these represent the phase front. But observing the phase front, it cannot be identified that whether it is a x directed or x polarized wave or it is a y polarized wave. So but if these waves when incident on a particular medium having the capability to separate these polarizations, then you may identify the which polarized it is, but in free space they all are identical. Now let's take an example, the 45-degree angle, the polarization which was taking at the 45-degree angle, what I have discussed in the first slide or in the first case. Look, so it has both the x directed wave and y directed wave. Here I have just superimposed them, but this is not the actual wave you are going to experience, or this is not the actual wave which propagates. It is just a superimpose of the y component and the x component to make you understand. So this is basically the wave fronts, but actually the direction will be 45-degree along this. So that can be understood using the wave fronts, by observing the wave fronts. Let's see what is the actual wave fronts of this. Look, it is propagating along this z direction, and it is the wave from this wave front. You can see that it is not oscillating either the y direction or the x directions, rather it is oscillating along the 45-degree angle between x and y directions. So look, so this is the polarizations of the electric field along the 45-degree directions, 45-degree angle. Next is a circular polarization. Look, the circular polarization means just incorporation of this imaginary term with one of these vector component. Let's see how such an imaginary term can generate a circular polarization, and what does it mean. Let's consider that all this E naught x and E naught y is equals to constant, both are same, and which are equals to a constant E naught, as I have considered for my 45-degree angles also. In this case I am also considering this one. So if so, then if you multiply this cos omega t minus kz times z, both of them, so that will result in this way. Now this j term is nothing but this phase of pi by 2. So that will be, even you can include over this term, over this cos factor, cos omega t minus kz times z plus minus pi by 2. This term you can include over here. So this is the last equation what I have obtained in my last slide. And finally, if you inspect this equation at z equals to 0, that signifies, look, at z equals to 0, this part will go to 0, and finally omega 2 plus minus pi by 2 will result in minus plus sine omega t. So that means one part, this part remains cos omega t, but this part is changed into sine omega t. Therefore, if you consider the magnitude part will be root over d square plus sines cos omega t square plus sines omega t square, and that will result in the E naught itself. But if you consider the angle between them, so the angle is going to be sine omega t plus divided by the cos omega t, and that will result in minus plus omega t. What does that mean? That means that as time evolves, this angle or this angle of this polarization rotates, because it depends upon the time, and since omega t itself represents an angle or radian, it represents radian, so this is a unit of angle, and as time evolves, this angle gets also evolved. So the angle rotates, and the rotation take place for a constant magnitude E naught, because the magnitude is constant. So it represents a circular motion. Let's see how the circular polarization can be visualized. And one more thing, so for omega t preceding with a positive sign, that will be called a right-handed circular polarized wave, RHCP, and which is omega t preceding with a negative sign, that will be called a left-handed circular polarized wave, or LHCP. Let's see. This represents the right-hand circularly polarized wave, and this represents the left-hand circularly polarized wave. Look, this arrow represents the trace of the electric field which is circulating by maintaining a constant amplitude. The radius of this circle represents the amplitude, and this arrow is oscillating or rotating due to the time evolution, since the angle is directly related to the omega times t. Similarly over here also. But one major thing or one main confusion may arise, from which direction you should observe, from the source point or from the observation point, because if you observe from the source point, it is a right hand circularly polarized wave, but if you observe from the observation point or the receiving point, it is just opposite one, it is a left hand circularly polarized wave. So which one is correct? Both are correct. What does that mean? It means that generally the people who designs the microwave devices, they prefers to observe from the source point, that means from here. So for them it is right hand circularly polarized wave. And the optic people who generally observes or analyze electromagnetic wave in optical frequencies, they generally prefer to observe from the receiving point. So therefore for them this is the left hand circularly polarized wave. And similar analysis or similar argument is also applicable for this one also. For this course, we are going to deal with the uh, from the source point. From we are considering the source point observation. And this simulation represents the wave fronts for the right hand circularly polarized wave, and this is the left hand circularly polarized wave. So here you can see the field amplitude is rotating the right hand if you observe from this side, from the source side, and it is rotating along the left side if you observe from this side also. Next one is the elliptical polarized wave. If the E naught and E naught x and E naught y are not equal, then they will become a elliptically polarized wave. And just that. So depending upon, so the one is going to define the major axis and another is going to define the minor axis. So if we take the ratio one upon another, so that will so depending upon that ratio, there will be lots of variation of the elliptical polarized wave. So I have shown one of them using this animation. And this is the summary of all animations what I have used to represent the all kind of polarizations. So first one is for linear polarizations, 90-degree polarizations, that means either in x directed polarized or y directed polarized. So I have represented by only one simulations because the x directed and y directed polarized wave are not distinguishable in free space. This one represents the 45-degree polarizations, and this is the circular polarizations, RHCP, LHCP, and this one is the elliptical polarizations.